Hello, everyone. Today I'll be talking to you about the joys of managing engineering teams and my experiences so far. My name is Maryam Umar. I'm a head of quality assurance. I've worked in multiple types of organizations and I switched into management as a choice. And there's lots of things that I've learned on the way, which I'd really like to share with you today. The first thing you need to remember is that leading a team is a very different job to being part of a team. Managing a team is also a very different job. Leading is more about executing through your people rather than through yourself. And you need to make sure that you're able to create a team where you can actually delegate a lot of the tasks so you can actually collectively deliver on a goal rather than everything being a burden on yourself. There's lots of things I didn't know when I started on my road to management, and I'd like to share some of them with you today. First things first, the first thing you will see as a manager and as a leader is that you have lots of one-to-ones. Some mistakes I made was that I never documented all of the one-to-ones. I would document some of them, but all of them became really important. This is really important, especially at the time of promotions and performance management, because that's when you can go back, look into your notes, and always make sure that that what you discussed with the individual is actually what is being reported onwards towards the rest of the teams. I remember there was a manager I had who actually had a document which was shared between the both of us, and they would actually write notes during the meeting, and I could actually go back and look through them. Another thing I also learned is, especially when you're setting objectives, I always try and follow up on email with the teams. I expect them and I actually push them to acknowledge that information, because then it means that they understand what they're expected to deliver. Another thing I also realized is that as a new manager, I started looking into people's progression only, and I wasn't really looking into how I want to actually build the team. This damaged me a little bit because I was trying to make sure that everybody was happy in their role, but to make sure that the whole department was working efficiently is something I learned a little bit later on in my journey. Something nobody tells you: performance reviews are very hard. They're very hard because you feel responsible about somebody's livelihood. At least that's how I feel. And also that you need to make sure that you are giving people the right challenges that they want to work on, and challenges which are also something which the organization expects you to deliver on. So getting those two things to align is really difficult sometimes for some of the individuals. So make sure that you're going into this with an open mind and really understand what is it that you expect the people to do versus what is it that the organization is expecting you to deliver on. This is something I learned more recently. This is actually from a product management tweet, which is where you can actually look at, okay, these are the types of characteristics I expect my team to build upon, and you can actually create a map and see where this fit into each one of these and maybe create objectives based on these. In terms of working with an entire team, the first thing you need to make sure is that you're creating a team vision. This is where as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we were talking about how it's not only important to look at people's progression, but also how a team will work together. Creating a vision is really hard. Use yourself as a manager and a leader is something you can find out what the organization expects of you and bring it to the table. Whereas you can ask some of the senior people in your team to bring together what are the challenges they're looking at, or what are the things which slow them down day to day, and then you can use that to collectively create a team vision. Um, Something I really abide by a lot is transparency. I think it's really, really important. I expect it from my managers, and I make sure that I'm very transparent with my team as well, especially with things like, for example, hiring, people's progression, and so on. so on. So it's important to explain to them why sometimes hiring's on a freeze, what is it that the organization's trying to pivot to, just so that there's less of hearsay and more of facts of the conversation that you can do. The other thing I want to mention is the MOST framework, which I found really useful, which really helped me drill down onto the objectives of our mission as a team. The MOST framework is actually an acronym. It uses mission, objective, strategies, and tactics. It really helps you identify what you can do in the team and helps you drill down into more tangible artifacts. What I did actually was that the strategies and tactics are what became epics and actual stories for my team in a Jira board, and we would actually update that on a regular basis to see where we are. And it will also help people outside of my team to have a view of what we're working on, what are our priorities, and how are we progressing on them. Another thing you have to remember is that when you're actually building your team, there's quite a few things you need to keep in mind. One is you want to make sure you're building the right thing. You want to focus on what will give the business success. And the next thing is you want to build the thing right. So if, for example, you want to create a test automation framework, what is the best way to do that so that you can get engagement from entire engineering organization rather than just from the testers. And the last thing is you want to think about how can you create a diverse team. And here for me, I'm really talking about the diversity of thought. You want a variety of skill sets in your team. You want people who can influence well. You want people who can do really good automation. You want people who can actually do good strategic work. You want people who can actually manage external teams and so on. Really think about what are the things you need to have in your team and work from there. This is something I've learned about prioritization. As a team manager, you realize there's a lot of things you need to do all of the time, and I use this prioritization matrix. It is readily available everywhere, and this will really help you understand what are the things you need to look at today and what are the things you need to block out your time for to look into very quickly. The last thing which is really important for me is that as a leader and as a manager, you should be able to show your vulnerability. And why is that important? When you share your vulnerabilities, it really helps create a safe space for your team. This is a team manual created by Emily Weber, which has really helped me in the long run. You can really run a session and get everybody to answer these questions. And I found that whenever I've done this, it creates a very comfortable environment for the team to work in, where everybody knows each other's strengths and weaknesses, but does not point them out. But in fact, we all work together to make sure that we're seen as one team. Towards the end, I'll just like to say that I know this has been a whirlwind of many things, but these are some of the things I've learned over the years. When you're creating a team, that's just the beginning of it. When you actually start working together towards a mission and a goal, it really helps, and that's when you're actually keeping together and looking after each other. And when you're actually achieving those, that's really when you end up working together and your team's successful. Thank you very much. Please feel free to jump in with any questions, or you can tweet to me later, and I hope you found these